artists! My name is Mrs. Comer and I am the art teacher at Chris and Berry Elementary. Today, I'm going to teach you ways that you can make your very own homemade paintbrush from items that are lying around your house or items that you can find outside in your yard. You can use these paintbrush materials to make paintings. If you don't have paint, that's okay because I'm going to show you some ways that you could paint outside with things like mud and water using your homemade paintbrushes as well. We'll also be learning about how professional artists create their own paintbrushes, and the items that they use might surprise you. So I'm excited to do art with you today. Let's get started. I wanted to start out by actually showing you photographs of handmade paintbrushes that professional artists have made. We'll talk about some of the ways that they made them and some of the materials that they used as well. So when you're looking at these paintbrushes here, you'll notice that they have really interesting shapes. What do you think that they're made of? Well, the handle part is made from them carving wood. And the bristles, the part that you dip in the paint, is actually made of different types of hair. So you might be thinking, hair? People make paintbrushes out of hair? Yes, they do. If you were to look at this paintbrush right here, could you guess what kind of hair the artist used to make the bristles out of? It's actually hair from a white-tailed deer. Is there any way you got that right? Let me show you some more. Check this beautiful paintbrush out. Again, it's a handmade paintbrush created by a professional artist. So if you were to guess what this paintbrush was made out of, what do you think the artist used? The artist actually used skunk hair to make the bristles for their paintbrush. A skunk, can you imagine? So before we start talking about things that we need to make our own paintbrushes from scratch, like these other artists have, I wanted to show you a contemporary artist who's alive right now. He lives and works in Spain, and his name is Ferran Gisbert. And if you look right here at this picture, he is quite famous for going to art galleries, and he takes this really, really large handmade paintbrush that you can see in this picture. And he dips it in paint and ink, and he actually paints directly on the walls of the gallery. So this is a paintbrush that he made. And what do you notice about it? Yeah, it's massive. It is probably the biggest paintbrush I've ever seen. So hopefully, after looking at some of these other artist paintbrushes and Ferran's work right here, we'll get some ideas about some fun and creative things that we can use to make our own paintbrushes with as well. So what I'm going to do is show you some pictures of examples of paintbrushes that are made from items in nature, and we'll go over a materials list, and then we'll get started on making our art. So now let's talk about how in the world are we going to make our own paintbrushes from scratch? Well, it's a lot easier than you would think. I know a lot of the art that we do together comes from nature, sticks, leaves, feathers, flowers, stuff like that. But that's great because we always have that around us somewhere. So today we're going to be going outside. We're going to go on a scavenger hunt for things like sticks, blades of grass, a feather, flowers, and different kinds of flowers, different kinds of leaves. You could be using pine cones, parts of branches. There's so many different things that you could be using to create a paintbrush. And it doesn't have to just be things from outside. If you're walking around your house because maybe it's raining outside or it's cold, maybe you could go around your house and find some things that are disposable that you get permission to use that would make great bristles for paintbrushes. It's totally up to you. You're the artist. It's your choice. So right now I'm going to show you a materials list of things that I suggest that we use together today to get started on our art. And don't worry if you don't have string and paint and all these other kinds of things you've seen in the pictures. It'll be just fine. I'll show you some alternatives to all of it. All right, here's our materials list that we need for our art today, and we'll go over this very quickly. We're going to go outside on our scavenger hunt. I want you to look for sticks. I want you to look for leaves, different kinds of leaves in particular, grass. Make sure it's not too short. You want to be able to tie it on to a stick, so make sure it's kind of long. Feathers if you can find them. Of course, with anything outside that you find, wash your hands after you use it, especially before eating or touching your face. Flowers and different kinds of flowers. Anything that you can find outside for your bristles will be great. In order to get it to stay on your sticks, I need you to find rubber bands or string. Now here are some optional things. You might not have rubber bands or string lying around your house. Some other items that you could use to make your bristles stay on your stick to create your paintbrush, you could use tape. You could use plastic grocery bags from the grocery store that you use scissors to cut up into strips, and then you can use that like a string. You could also use bread ties from off of loaves of bread in your house. Anything that you find in your house, I want you to be creative. Ask yourself, is this going to help my bristles stay on my stick so that I can use it as a paintbrush? Artists, the first thing I'm going to do is go outside and go on my own scavenger hunt to look for items that I can use to make my own homemade paintbrushes with. We'll spend about a minute doing this, so if you want to spend 1 minute at your house right now trying to gather materials, that's enough time if you do it really fast. Are you ready? All right, artists, so you saw me go on my scavenger hunt. I'm going to tell you a few of the things that I found. I picked a little patch of clovers I thought would be really fun to have as bristles together in one paintbrush. So I'm going to keep them together right here. I picked a dandelion. I thought maybe that could be a really fun paintbrush to use to paint with later. I grabbed some tree bark. I might do more scraping with it, but I wanted to grab it because I thought it could give me some really cool brush strokes or bark strokes, really. Found a gumball. I found some leaves, and they're already on a stick, so they're already kind of like a paintbrush all by themselves. I got several different kinds of sticks that are, some are thin and some are thicker, that I'll use to be the base of my paintbrushes. I found blades of grass that are long enough for me to clump together like this for my paintbrush. And then I found this other really tall type of grass that I thought would be really fun to paint with as well. Now, as far as things that I can use to actually attach my nature objects to my sticks to make my paintbrushes, I have tape at my house, which I'm going to try a little bit of. I found an old bread tie that I wanted to try, and actually I had a hair tie on my wrist, and I was wanting to experiment with my hair tie and see if that ended up working out as well. So the first thing you want to do is take one of your sticks like this, and then choose one of your nature objects. I think the first one that I want to choose to put together is actually going to be my tall, fluffy grass. So what I'm going to do is just kind of tear it like this so that I can get the end pieces a little shorter. And my goal right now is to put them together in a clump, like a little bunch like this. I'm gonna try to make sure that the ends are kind of together. I notice this one's extra long. I might move it down a little bit. And I'm gonna pick one of my sticks out. And I'm gonna take my stick and just kind of put it around them like this. And then I'm gonna pick out one of my tools for connecting them. I think for these, because they're so fluffy, I might try to use some tape. And again, you're the artist, it's your choice. So whatever you're working with at your house is great. We're just experimenting here, trying to create new things. And if it doesn't work out well, try to figure out what went wrong and fix it and problem solve and then try a different one. All right, so I'm trying to get my tape on pretty tight, like this. And then just like this, I have created my first paintbrush from scratch. It didn't cost me any money. It just took a little bit of time finding the right materials outside. So I'm gonna set this paintbrush right here. My next one, I have a smaller stick. Let's see, maybe I will attach my dandelion to this one. Maybe use it more like a stamp than a paintbrush. I'm gonna use tape for this one too. Just really light tape. I'm gonna roll it down the ends like this, making sure it's pretty secure. If I had more time, I probably would go outside and try to find some more wildflowers to use as stamps or paintbrushes, of course, just to get some variety in what I'm going to be doing today. And just like that, I have another paintbrush. Set that here with my little collection. I have this thin stick. I think this time, you know what? I'm gonna try my blades of grass. So I'm gonna take these and I'm ripping them so that the ends will pretty much be the same length. It doesn't have to be perfect, of course. These are homemade paintbrushes. And you know what? I might try to experiment with my hair tie. Let's see if I can get this to work. Be interesting. Oh, this is gonna be fun. What do you think? Set this right here. And I already had one of these. I think what I'm gonna do now is just break this part off and use this as its own paintbrush. Nature kind of provided me with a whole paintbrush setup right here. And then for this one, I'm gonna take these clovers and maybe I'll use a bread tie. Try to get this to stay on like this. Again, we're just experimenting. Here, another little paintbrush. So now, let's talk about what can we do with these amazing paintbrushes. If you have paint in your house, you can actually take these, take a little paper plate and a paint palette and just start dipping them in and painting. I'll show you what that would look like in just a minute. You can also, if you don't have paint, go back outside with your paintbrushes, find some mud or some water and dip it in there and practice painting on the sidewalk with mud and water. That's also a form of painting. So what I'm gonna go do now is grab some paint and we'll see what kind of marks that I can make with my new paintbrushes. So check it out, guys. These are amazingly different and interesting marks that I've made with my brand new paintbrushes that I've made from scratch. So hopefully today you're able to make lots of different kinds of paintbrushes. Try to be as creative as you can be. Look at objects both inside your home and outside, wondering, would this make a great paintbrush? Could these be bristles? And again, if you don't have paint, try to find something outside in nature that you could paint with. I've had so much fun with you today. I hope you spend today inside and outside being as creative as you can be. I'll see you next time.